Good news, you're one of the most feared warriors in the galaxy. Bad news, you're 13 years old and already on a battlefield. Not exactly a dream life, I guess. Think you'd make it? Well, let's see. In this video, we're diving into the daily hell of being a Mandalorian, putting you inside that helmet and seeing how long you actually last. Spoiler, not very long. So grab the armor, strap on the jetpack, and let's begin. You ever been handed your entire future before you could walk? That's what being a Mandalorian means for most people. The second you're either born to a Mandalorian clan or picked up as a foundling, which is their polite term for orphan we decided to keep, your life is already scheduled. You've basically enrolled in the galaxy's harshest, most unforgiving military boarding school without reading the brochure. See, Mandalorians don't raise kids the way normal people do. There's no, let's see what this little kid wants to be when he grows up. You're going to be a warrior. End of story. Doesn't matter if you're terrified of loud noises or allergic to metal. You're part of the clan now, and that means you fight or you die trying. That's the way it's been for centuries, even thousands of years, depending on how far into legends you want to go. And the thing is, to them, it's noble. They truly believe that they're giving you the greatest gift possible: identity, purpose, belonging. Because Mandalorian life is all unity. The clan, tribe, covert, call it whatever you want. It's supposed to be your entire world. They train you, feed you, protect you. In return, you give them your entire life. The trade-off? You never get to be you. And this idea goes deep. Even in legends, Mandalorians were famous for adopting outsiders into the fold. Species didn't matter. Background didn't matter. If you were willing to live by the Rezol Nar, that's the 6 tenets that define Mandalorian life. You were one of them. That sounds inclusive, right? Like, wow, what a welcoming culture. Except the fine print says, become one of us completely or get out. There's no halfway. You don't get to keep your customs, your faith, your old name if it conflicts, and the armor. The helmet goes on, and your face isn't yours anymore. You're not allowed to take it off in front of others. In some sects, not even in private. You eat alone, you sleep alone, you fight together, but you grieve in silence. You grow up learning that identity is a burden, and the helmet protects everyone. And you know what? They're proud of that. They see it as strength, emotional control, discipline. You might be thinking, okay, but surely someone chooses this life, right? Some people must be into it. And yeah, sure, there are Mandalorians who wear that armor like a second skin and genuinely love the warrior lifestyle. They believe in the creed the way some folks believe in gravity. It's just reality. You don't question it, but you never had the chance to question it in the first place. You were raised in a culture where disobedience gets you exiled. An exile as a Mandalorian, that's not losing your home, that's losing your soul. They unname you. You're not even allowed to be called Mandalorian anymore. You become apostate, like Din Djarin, after removing his helmet. And if you're thinking, well, I'd just leave then, cool. Hope you enjoy bounty hunting on your own in deep space, sleeping in your ship, eating recycled protein paste, while every Imperial warlord and syndicate scumbag sees your armor and decides they want it, because now you're alone, and everyone still wants a piece of you. Back to the whole, you didn't choose this idea. Think about how young this starts. By the time you're old enough to form memories, you're already training. And I'm not talking basic literacy and sandbox time. I mean hand-to-hand combat, weapons drills, survival scenarios. They drop you in the fire and see what kind of steel comes out. There's no, maybe this one will be a healer path, or she has a gift for art. If you're lucky, maybe you become an armorer. And even that job involves hammering molten beskar next to an open forge, while quoting battle proverbs, like you're reading bedtime stories to a thermal detonator, and that identity is drilled into you constantly. The first stories you hear as a child are about the siege of Mandalore, the Mandalorian excision, the fall of Sundari. They glorify it. Losing wars is considered honorable as long as you fought hard and died proud. Victory is cool, sure, but dying with your boots on? That's the real trophy. Let's talk clans real quick, because people tend to think of Mandalorians as one big group, like it's one unified culture. Nah. That's like saying everyone on Earth agrees on everything because we all wear pants. The Mandalorians are fractured. Clans like Vizsla, Kryze, Ren, they've been fighting each other longer than the Empire even existed. Your clan determines your politics, your allies, your enemies. Sometimes it even dictates your armor color and insignia. And you're born into it. You don't pick your house. You inherit your rivalries like debt. So even if you wanted to be the chill Mandalorian who keeps to himself and doesn't stir the pot, good luck. You're wearing the wrong sigil in the wrong sector, and suddenly someone's challenging you to a duel because your great-grandfather insulted their bantha 10 generations ago. All of this, all of it, is what you grow up inside. It's not explained to you gently. You're expected to become Mandalorian before you even know what that means. And if you don't get it fast enough, you're a liability. And Mandalorians don't carry dead weight, even if you're 6 years old. And don't even think about having second thoughts when you grow up, because by then, your entire sense of self is tangled in this warrior identity. You've never taken off your helmet in front of anyone. You've never said, "I don't know," out loud. You've never had the chance to be soft or uncertain or anything resembling vulnerable. The first time you feel those things, you won't even know how to describe them. Because Mandalorian life doesn't give you a vocabulary for feelings, it gives you a flamethrower. And the rest of the galaxy doesn't care. People either fear you, hate you, or want to hire you. Sometimes all three at once. You walk into a cantina and everyone either stares or leaves. But you didn't ask for any of this. You were just born with no chance to ask, what else is out there for me? And honestly, if that thought ever does pop into your head, you better keep your helmet on and your mouth shut. You're in the clan now. You've got your new name, your bowl of soup, maybe even a tiny little practice helmet. You think the hard part is over. Bless your heart. The hard part hasn't even started, because now you have to learn the rules. And I mean the creed. And let's be brutally clear from the jump. It's not a set of helpful life tips. It is the operating system for your entire existence. It's the wall around your world, and every single thing you do from now on is measured against it. Break it, you are out. Now, let's get specific. We talked about the helmet earlier, mostly according only for the children of the Watch, with their way of the Mandalore, and this is the way, quotes. Just imagine living an entire life and never feeling the wind on your skin. Imagine never sharing a meal where you see the smile of the person across from you. Imagine your child never knowing what their parent's face looks like. The first face they see is their own, reflected in your T-visor. Now let's talk about the Resulnari that I mentioned earlier. The 6 actions. This is a checklist for existence. First, wear the armor. We covered that. It's not optional attire, it's your skin. Second is speak the language. Mandoa. This is critical. Language shapes thought. It's a warrior's tongue. Direct, harsh, with layers of meaning about clan and honor. Speaking basic is for dealings with outsiders. Your inner world, your prayers, your curses, your love, those are in Mandoa. It fences your mind in. Third, defend yourself and your family. Sounds straightforward, but defend doesn't mean protect. It means eliminate the threat. Proportionate response is not a concept. An insult to your clan can be a cause for a blood feud. A slight against your honor may demand a duel to the death. There is no turn the other cheek. There is only escalation. You are always on the defensive, which means you are always one misunderstanding away from lethal violence. Fourth, raise your children as Mandalorians. The cycle is mandatory. You are mandated to be its factory, producing the next generation of believers. Your personal doubts don't matter. You will drill the 6 actions into your kids before they can walk. You are perpetuating the system that owns you. Contribute to the clan's welfare. Your labor, your credits, your very body belong to the clan. You hunt for the clan. You fight for the clan. Your bounty hunting profits go into the communal pot. You have no personal wealth or retirement fund. You are a cell in an organism, and your purpose is to feed the whole. And the last one, answer the call of the Mandalore. When your leader rallies the clans, you go, no questions. It doesn't matter if you think the cause is stupid or suicidal. It doesn't matter if you have a family that needs you. The call is absolute. Your life is not your own to spend. It is a resource for your ruler to expend. This is your daily to-do list, forever. Now let's talk about honor. This is the most insidious part. It's a quantifiable substance. You earn it in drips through acts of courage and skill. You can lose it all in a single, shameful gallon. And your honor is not a private bank account. It's a shared trust fund for your entire clan. This means your actions are never your own. Every choice you make is a deposit or a withdrawal from your family's legacy. Bring back a great bounty? You've added to the clan's stature. Run from a fight? You've bankrupted them. The pressure is astronomical. It means your clanmates are your most brutal critics. They have to be. Your failure hurts them directly, so they watch you, they correct you, they report you to the elders. The culture is one of constant low-grade scrutiny. You are living in a panopticon where the guards are your brothers and sisters. Think about Din Djarin again. When he removed his helmet to save Grogu, in the eyes of his covert, he contaminated himself. He broke the system. He became Daromanda, and his armorer The spiritual heart of his clan exiled him. She didn't want to. You could hear the sorrow in her voice. You are a Mandalorian no more, but the creed demanded it. This is why internal politics are so vicious. A Mandalorian would rather challenge a brother to a duel than let a hint of dishonor fester and spread. They police their own with a brutality they reserve for their worst enemies. An enemy can kill you. A dishonored brother can poison the well for everyone. That's the weight of the creed. This is the prison. The walls are built of must and shall not. The locks are forged from fear. The fear of the void that waits outside the only identity you've ever known. The most brilliant trick the creed pulls is making you love your cell. It gives you purpose. It gives you family. It gives you an answer to every terrifying question the galaxy has. Who are you? A Mandalorian. What is your purpose? To follow the creed. What happens when you die? You join the mythic march of your ancestors. It provides absolute certainty in an uncertain universe. And in exchange, it takes everything else. Your freedom of choice, your personal identity, your right to weakness, to doubt, to a quiet life. You wouldn't last a day. Not that you're not tough enough to fight, you're just not broken enough to surrender. Your modern mind is built on the cult of the individual, on self-expression, on the right to be wrong, to change your mind to be a mess. The creed has no room for that. It demands a perfect, polished, unwavering surface. Any crack and the whole structure considers you a contaminant to be removed. It's a prison where the sentence is life, and the only escape is to stop being you. And after a while, you'd stop wanting to escape. So picture this. You're maybe 4 or 5 years old. On some other world, a kid that age is learning to tie their shoes. You're learning to tie a tourniquet on yourself. Your first structured lessons are about pain. A Mandalorian adheres to a simple truth. Pain is a messenger. A sharp pain in your side means you dropped your guard. A burning sensation on your arm means you misjudged distance to a heat source. The goal is to learn its language so fluently that you can have a conversation with it while you're busy doing something else, like staying alive. So they introduce it in controlled doses. You might be tasked with holding a piece of metal fresh from the cooler, but not yet freezing. It's uncomfortable, and it bites at your fingers. You learn to reframe the sensation. It's not an enemy to scream at, it's like a teacher, you know. Then comes the emotional training. This is the brutal part. You are taught to control your tells. A Mandalorian in a helmet has one advantage. You are unreadable. But if your body betrays your fear, a shaking hand, a hesitant step, a quick panicked breath, the modulator can't hide. That advantage is gone. So you play games, Dedrick but with consequences. Lose a piece, you do 10 push-ups. Show frustration, you do 20. Your playmates are other foundlings or clan children. Your games are simulations. One popular one is called Hunt the Womp Rat. It's basically hide and seek in the dim, cluttered storage areas of the covert. But the seeker has a training blaster that fires a sticky, paint-like marker. If you're found and tagged, you're dead. And being dead means you sit out the next 3 games, watching. The lesson is immediate. Failure has consequences beyond disappointment. It sidelines you. It makes you irrelevant. Around age 6 or 7, the tools become weapons. Not real ones yet, but the transition is clear. That heavy Hydra spanner you learned the heft of. Now you learn the specific points on a dummy, where it can simulate a disabling blow. The joints of armor, the neck, the photoreceptor of a droid. You learn the basics of leverage, how a smaller person can use momentum to trip or disarm a larger one. The only rule is don't permanently injure your clanmate. Everything else is a valid tactic. By 8 or 9 you get your first real piece. Not beskar, not yet, but a practice helmet. It's the most important moment of your young life. It's heavier than you imagined. They teach you to clean the interior, to maintain the HUD, to seal the neck ring. This helmet is your new face. You eat in it, wearing it loosely and tipping food in carefully. You learn to sleep in it, propped up, getting used to the confinement. Claustrophobia is a luxury you cannot afford. You overcome it, or you are broken by it. The drills now incorporate the helmet. Peripheral vision is gone. You learn to scan, to turn your head constantly, building a mental map. Sound is distorted. You learn to identify threats by their audio signature. The whine of a blaster charge versus the click of a safety. Weapons handling becomes serious. You spend weeks on a single weapon system. A simple DC-17 blaster pistol. You learn its weight, its balance point, its disassembly sequence. The goal is to make the weapon an extension of your nervous system. Drawing it, charging it, aiming. It must become as unconscious as breathing. Then live fire. It's not on a sunny range, it's in a dim, smoky simulation room. The targets aren't circles, they are silhouettes that pop up randomly, sometimes with hostages, represented by painted marks, beside them. Hesitate on the wrong target, and you fail. You learn shot placement. Center mass is primary, but you also drill on headshots, on disabling shots to limbs. Efficiency is God. Every bolt is credit, energy, and, most importantly, time. Wasted shots get you killed. The training is also psychological warfare. They will wake you in the middle of the night for a sudden drill. You will be tired, hungry, cold. They will give you a complex problem, a puzzle lock to open, a coded message to decipher, while under simulated stress, like flashing lights and loud noises. The message: the galaxy doesn't care if you got enough sleep. Your enemy will attack when you're at your weakest. You must learn to access the calm, analytical part of your mind through fatigue, fear, and discomfort. There is no mercy in this process because the battlefield offers none. The closest thing to mercy is the fact that your teachers are your family. They are not cold Kamino and cloners. They might even love you, but you are loved because you're strong, because you are capable, because you are becoming a worthy member of the clan. It is conditional love, built on a foundation of proven worth. This creates a drive that is terrifying in its depth. You don't want to succeed. You need to succeed to remain worthy of the love that is the only emotional warmth in your life. By the time you're 12, you're not a child by any standard the wider galaxy would recognize. You are a highly specialized, emotionally controlled, tactically aware proto-soldier. You have seen injuries. You have felt the adrenaline of simulated combat that feels all too real. The concept of a peaceful life is a fairy tale from a culture you will never know. Could you handle it? Think about your worst day at school or a tough day at a job. Now imagine that level of stress is your baseline from age 4 onward. Imagine your self-worth being tied not to grades or promotions, but to your ability to efficiently disassemble a human-shaped target. This training doesn't create well-adjusted adults. It creates survivors. It creates warriors. It forges a mindset where every doorway is a potential ambush, every stranger a potential threat, and every moment of peace is just preparation for the next war. It beats the softness out of you, ring by ring, like a sword on an anvil. You wouldn't last a week. You'd last until the first time you were expected to push through a sprained ankle in a running drill, or the first time you were verbally dismantled for a tactical error in front of your entire cohort. You'd break because you still believe comfort is a right. A Mandalorian child learns, before they learn anything else, that comfort is a lie. The only truth is the forge, the drill, and the creed. Alright, so you've made it. The training that started when you were in diapers has finally paid off. You've stood in the forge, the heat washing over you, and the armourer has presented you with your first real piece, real, honest to Mandalore beskar. It's cool to the touch, even in the forge's glow. It has weight, serious weight, and in that moment you feel it. Pride, purpose. You think, this is it, I am a Mandalorian. That feeling lasts about as long as it takes to get the full suit on by yourself for the first time. Which, by the way, is an ordeal. It's not like slipping into a flight suit, it's a ritual. A locking, sealing, clamping process that feels less like getting dressed and more like being entombed in a very expensive, very heavy coffin. Let's talk about beskar itself. This is a cultural nerve. The ore comes only from Mandalore and its surrounding moons, like Concordia. The mines were the heart of the planet's power, its economy, its identity. Wars were fought over those mines. The Imperial Purge? A huge part of that was about seizing control of beskar mines to strip the culture of its literal backbone. The forging process is a secret held closer than a clan's treasure vault. Armourers are more than blacksmiths. They're shamans. They understand the song of the metal. Legends say true beskar, properly forged, can sing when struck. In the old legends lore, the metal was even said to have a degree of psychic insulation. It could dampen force powers, making a Mandalorian a walking dead zone for a Jedi's senses. In current canon, we know it can disperse the energy of a lightsaber blade, which is practically a miracle. A lightsaber cuts through durasteel like air. Beskar, it takes the hit glows white-hot at the point of impact and tells the Jedi, "Not today." But this miracle has a cost. First, scarcity. After the Purge, after the Night of 1,000 Tears, finding pure beskar is like finding a peaceful hut. It's almost gone. What's left is inherited, scavenged, or stolen. Din Djarin's entire suit was earned piecemeal over a lifetime of dangerous work. That little oblong ingot he got as payment from the Imperial client, that was a fortune, enough to forge a small piece for the child. You're not getting a full set from the company store. You're assembling the world's most dangerous and heavy jigsaw puzzle, one life-threatening job at a time. Now, let's get you inside this thing. The undersuit isn't comfy linen. It's a padded, climate-controlled body glove riddled with tubes and wires. There's a circulatory system for coolant on hot worlds and heaters for frozen ones. You'll be baking on Tatooine while your friend is shivering on Hoth, both of you cursing the same faulty micronode in the lumbar array. You have hydration tubes that run from a reservoir on your belt to a port inside your helmet. The water always tastes like plastic and stale electrolytes. You have nutrient paste pouches for long deployments. Imagine eating lukewarm, flavourless gruel through a straw while hiding in the mud on some backwater planet. That's your 5-star meal. Then you start locking on the plates. Greaves on the shins, cuisses on the thighs. The codpiece, a very, very important piece, trust me. The cuirass, the chest and back plate, locks together with a heavy thunk that vibrates through your ribs. Pauldrons on the shoulders, van braces on the forearms. Each piece connects to the undersuit systems. You feel the servos in the joints whine to life, providing assisted movement. Without them, you'd be moving like a toddler in a snowsuit. Daily life in armor is a series of humbling compromises. That itch on your nose? It might as well be on the other side of the galaxy. You learn to ignore it, or to use a specifically designed scratching rod you keep in a van brace. A little stick you can maneuver up into your helmet. Very dignified. You get a headache? Too bad you can't rub your temples. You have a sudden desperate need to sneeze? You pray to the Mythosaur it passes. Because sneezing inside a sealed helmet is a uniquely horrific experience. Maintenance is a religion. After every single outing, you have a ritual. You remove the plates, carefully, in the prescribed order. You check for scratches, dents, cracks. You clean out the joints with specialized brushes and solvent that smells like regret, an industrial cleaner. You polish the beskar with a specific abrasive compound. Not for vanity, a micro scratch can become a stress fracture. A dirty joint can seize up at the worst possible moment. You spend hours on this. It's not optional. Your armor is your life. A malfunctioning seal means a blaster bolt to the neck. A stuck servo means you can't raise your arm to block a strike. And the dents. We have to live in this for a minute. In Mandalorian culture, armor isn't replaced because it's damaged. It's repaired, always, because each piece carries history. That dent on Boba Fett's helmet, that's a story. In his case, from a lucky shot from a Jedi. In the Legends tales, the armor of the legendary warrior, Canderous Ordo, was a patchwork of repairs, each one a badge from a different battle. When you bring a dented piece to the armorer, she doesn't hammer it out. She asks for the story. How did you earn this mark? If your story is honorable, I held the line against 3 super battle droids. This is where their cannon fire struck. She repairs it with respect, perhaps even tracing the repair with a different alloy, creating a visible scar of honor. If your story is shameful, I tripped and fell on a rock running from a fight, she might leave the dent. She might say, carry this reminder, let it motivate you. You have to walk around with your failure on display, a silent metal confession to your clan. It's psychological warfare on yourself. Then there's the sheer impracticality of existing in the wider galaxy. Ever tried to pilot a standard starfighter in full beskargum? You don't fit. The helmet hits the canopy. You have to fly stripped down, or in a specially modified cockpit. Public transport? Forget it. No one wants the heavily armed, clanking warrior drawing attention on the shuttle to Corellia. You sleep in your ship or in safe houses. A normal bed is a memory. You sleep in your armor, or in a special rack that holds it upright while you dangle in your undersuit. Romance? Intimacy? The creed that demands the helmet makes a simple kiss an act of profound transgression. Relationships are built on voice, on action, on the touch of glove on van brace. The physical human connection is a ghost you remember from childhood. You become a creature of routine and ritual, defined by the limitations of your shell. The armor that protects you also isolates you. It separates you from the elements, from comfort, from the spontaneous, messy reality of being a living thing. You trade softness for strength. You trade comfort for survival. You trade 1,000 small human joys for one big brutal fact. You are very, very hard to kill, and you'd hate it. You'd last a day maybe before the reality set in. The noise, heat, the weight, the constant upkeep, the social alienation. You'd realize you hadn't signed up to be a warrior. You'd signed up to be a monument, a living, breathing statue to an ideal, forever polishing your own exterior, while inside you're just a tired, sweaty person who really, really misses the feeling of sunlight on your skin. So you've gotten used to the armor. You think you're getting the hang of this Mandalorian thing. Good. Now, let's introduce the elements that turn you from a very tough soldier into a walking, flying, exploding hazard zone. Let's talk about your gear. I'm talking about the specialty items. The things that make a Mandalorian, and also the things most likely to turn a Mandalorian into a very expensive, very spread out stain on the landscape. We'll start with the big one. The jetpack, the Z6 jetpack, the JV7. Whatever model your clan could afford or salvage. This is the ultimate symbol of Mandalorian mobility. It's also, statistically, one of the leading causes of non-combat death among their warriors. You don't strap it on and hit the sky. The training for this is called the Rising Phoenix. It's as brutal as it sounds. They start you in a giant netted hangar. The nets aren't to catch you if you fall. They're to contain the debris when you inevitably slam into a wall at 40 miles an hour. They teach you how to tuck, how to roll, how to take an impact that would shatter every bone in a normal human's body. You do this over and over, you get good at falling. Then they let you hover, just a foot off the ground. The controls are insanely sensitive. A twitch of your thumb on the wrist actuator sends you lurching sideways. It's not intuitive. Your body wants to lean like on a speeder bike, but leaning just throws you off balance. You have to learn to steer with tiny, precise movements, while a massive column of superheated plasma is screaming out 2 feet behind your head. The sound is deafening. The heat wash is brutal, even through your armor. You can feel it on the back of your thighs. And the fuel, it's not infinite. You have maybe a few minutes of sustained flight, less if you're doing aggressive maneuvers. Your HUD has a fuel gauge that becomes the most important number in your life. You're taught to always have an exit strategy that doesn't end with you 1,000 feet in the air on empty. There's a famous grim saying among pilots, it's not the fall that kills you, it's the sudden stop at the end. Mandalorians have a corollary. It's not the empty fuel tank that kills you, it's the litho-braking maneuver you didn't plan for. Now let's take it outside. Combat flight. This is where the chaos truly begins. You're not flying in a straight line, you're dodging blaster fire, weaving through canyon walls, maybe engaging in a dogfight with a TIE fighter. You have to manage your fuel, your weapon systems, your directional thrusters, and not plow into your own squad mates, who are also doing the same insane dance. In the heat of the Battle of Mandalore, the sky was a tangled web of jetpack trails, laser fire, and falling bodies. It was less a battle and more a high-speed demolition derby in 3 dimensions. And the malfunctions. A stuck throttle valve sends you screaming straight up into the upper atmosphere until you either pass out from lack of oxygen or your suit freezes. The jetpack isn't a tool, it's a volatile relationship. It offers you the freedom of the skies, and in return, it demands your constant vigilance and accepts your life as collateral. Then let's move to the wrist-mounted goodies. Starting with the flamethrower. You see Boba Fett or Din Djarin roast a bunch of stormtroopers and think, yeah, that's awesome, until you think about the reality. You have a miniature fuel tank of highly flammable gel or gas strapped to your forearm, with a nozzle that points back along your arm. The ignition is a spark away. Now, you're in a tight corridor on a starship. You fire your flamethrower. The fire blossoms out, incinerating the droid in front of you. Fantastic, you also just superheated the entire corridor, set off every sprinkler system, sucked all the oxygen out of the immediate area, and probably melted the control panel for the door you need to get through. You're now standing in a dark, steaming, oxygen-poor hallway with a compromised fuel line on your arm, and everyone knows exactly where you are. The flamethrower is the definition of our area denial weapon. It denies the area to everyone, including you. Next, the whistling birds, tiny guided micro-missiles. They look cool, They're also a nightmare. First, they're one-time use. You get one shot per vambrace, and then you have to find an armourer to painstakingly reload them. They're like the beskar of ammunition. Rare, precious, and not to be wasted. Second, the guidance system is linked to your helmet's targeting. You have to lock onto multiple targets. What happens if you're disoriented? What if you're in a crowd and your HUD glitches, tagging a friendly or a hostage? Those little birds don't care. They go where you tell them, and then they explode. They are the ultimate no-takebacks weapon, and the grappling line, a simple useful tool, until it snaps. Or worse, until the maglock on the end doesn't disengage. There are stories, apocryphal maybe, but everyone believes them, of warriors who fired a grapple. It latched onto a passing ship, and they were yanked off their feet and dragged into the stratosphere before they could cut the line. Or you're swinging across a chasm, and the line spools out just a little too far, leaving you dangling over a 1,000-foot drop with a slowly draining power cell in your winch. This is the daily reality of Mandalorian tech. It's rugged, often salvaged battlefield tech. It's held together by ingenuity, spare parts, and prayer. Your vambrace computer is running an operating system that's probably 200 years old because the new ones aren't compatible with the missile firmware. Your jetpack might have a fuel pump from a Corellian freighter. You are a living museum of galactic mechanical history, and all the exhibits are armed and temperamental. You think you'd love this stuff. You'd strap on the jetpack and imagine the freedom, and for about 10 seconds you'd feel it. The roar, the lift, the world falling away. Then the panic would set in. The realization that you're riding a controlled explosion, that your life depends on a gyroscope manufactured by the lowest bidder for the Republic Navy 50 years ago. That the wonderful flamethrower on your wrist is one close call away from turning you into a walking candle. You wouldn't last a single flight. You'd either freeze up at the controls and auger into the ground, or you'd get cocky, try a fancy maneuver, and become a new crater. The gear is what makes them legends, and it's also what kills them. It's the high-risk, high-reward lifestyle. And you, my friend, are not a high-risk kind of person. You're the kind of person who reads the manual. There is no manual for this. There's only experience, written in blood and thruster exhaust. Okay now, let's put the blaster down for a second. We need to pull the camera back, way back, and we'll see a story written in one repeating word, fracture. This is a cultural illness and a hereditary condition passed down from generation to generation. It's a script they can't stop performing, even when they know the ending is fire and ruin. If you want to understand why you wouldn't last a day as a Mandalorian, you need to understand that you're not only signing up for a tough life, you're signing up for a history that is actively, perpetually, trying to kill you from within. We have to start at the beginning, or as close as the mists of legend allow. The Tong, the original Mandalorians, a warrior species from Coruscant, led by the legendary figure Mandalore I. They were defeated, exiled, and found a new homeworld they named Manda, the planet Mandalore. They conquered the indigenous Mythosaurs and took their skull as a symbol. Right from the jump, the identity is conquest, victory over a native species. Their mythology is built on being the strongest, the toughest, the ones who take what they want. They became the Mandalorians, absorbing other species through their culture, the ultimate melting pot, but a melting pot that only poured one shape, the warrior. For millennia this worked. They built a warrior society that spread across the stars, not as a centralized empire, but as clans united under a single leader, the Mandalore. Their golden age was the period of expansion, conquest, and relentless war. This is what their songs are about, the Mandalorian Crusades. They smashed into the Galactic Republic over and over, a never-ending tide of beskar and blaster fire. But their unity was entirely conditional. It was conditional on having a strong, undisputed Mandalore, and it was conditional on having an external enemy to fight. The moment one of those things wavered, the whole structure began to creak. Let's zoom into a pivotal era from the old Legends lore, because it shows the pattern in perfect tragic detail. The Mandalorian Wars, about 4,000 years before the Skywalkers. The Mandalore at the time was a figure known as Mandalore the Ultimate. He unified the clans like few before him. He led the Neo-Crusaders, Mandalorians in sleek coloured armour, on a campaign of conquest that swallowed whole sectors. They were terrifyingly effective. They didn't fight for territory or politics. They fought for the sake of the fight, for the glory of the challenge. They were the ultimate test, and they believed they were unbeatable. Then they met the Jedi Revan and Malak. The war that followed was cataclysmic. It culminated at the Battle of Malachor V, a wound in the Force so deep it echoes forever. The Mandalorians were shattered, utterly, decisively defeated. Mandalore the Ultimate was killed. But what happened next is the Mandalorian disease in action. Collapse. The clans, whose loyalty was always first to themselves, scattered. They blamed each other for the defeat. The rallying cry of Mandalore was replaced by the bitter accusations of "your clan held back" or "your strategy failed us." The mighty Neo-Crusader culture disintegrated into warlordism and infighting. The external enemy was gone, so they became each other's enemies. They spent centuries in the wilderness, licking their wounds and sharpening their knives for each other. The trauma of the excision creates two irreconcilable paths. One path leads to the New Mandalorians. Led by pacifists, they look at the ashes of their world and say, "Never again." They reject the warrior ways entirely. They build the beautiful, domed cities, like Sundari, living in biodomes on a dead world. They embrace art, diplomacy, neutrality. The other path leads to the traditionalists, the warriors who see the New Mandalorians as weaklings, as traitors, who spit on the graves of their ancestors. They cling to the old ways with a desperate, fanatical fervour. They become clans like Death Watch, hiding in the moon convents of Concordia, waiting for their chance to purge the heresy of peace. This is a spiritual schism. It's a fundamental debate over the soul of what a Mandalorian is. Is it a citizen of Mandalore, or is it a follower of the warrior creed? There is no middle ground. Each side views the other as an existential threat. This sets the stage for the civil war that defines the modern era. Enter the Clone Wars. The galaxy is on fire, and Mandalore, despite its official neutrality, is a powder keg. Duchess Satine tries to hold her pacifist utopia together. But Death Watch, led by Pre Vizsla of Clan Vizsla, is done waiting. They start a campaign of terrorism to destabilize her. But here's where the self-destruction gets a new, shiny, Sith-shaped twist. Death Watch, in their hunger for power, makes a deal with Darth Maul and his Shadow Collective. They use this outside force, this Sith monster, to conquer Mandalore and overthrow Satine. They win. They take the capital. And then Maul, following the most brutal Mandalorian tradition, challenges Pre Vizsla to single combat for leadership, and Maul kills him. He takes the darksaber. By the very traditions they claimed to uphold, Maul is now the rightful ruler, and the culture immediately vomits itself apart. Bo-Katan, Satin's sister, and a Death Watch lieutenant refuses to follow an outsider. A Sith, she leads a splinter faction. So now you have Maul's forces holding the capital, Bo-Katan's loyalists fighting them, and the remnants of Satine's supporters caught in the middle. A three-way civil war raging inside the biodomes, while the galaxy-wide Clone Wars provide the backdrop. They are literally tearing their last fragile city apart while the Republic and Separatists fight around them. Satine is executed. The planet is left broken and occupied by Maul's thugs. Now enter Gar Saxon. Saxon creates the Imperial Super Commandos, Mandalorians who swear allegiance to the Empire. And who do they fight? Other Mandalorians, of course. The clans who resist Imperial rule. So the civil war continues, but now one side wears Imperial crests on their beskar. The fighting is still Mandalorian versus Mandalorian. The blood is still the same, but the master pulling the strings is in a throne room on Coruscant. This disunity is the cancer that allows the Empire to eventually commit the purge. The Night of 1,000 Tears, a fleet of TIE bombers and the backing of a galaxy-spanning dictatorship, rains hell on Mandalore. But they couldn't have done it if the Mandalorians had been united. They weren't. They were scattered, distrustful, divided between loyalists, rebels, and hidden cults like the Children of the Watch. There was no unified army to meet the Imperial fleet. There were only clans making their last stands on isolated plateaus, their signals for help going unanswered by rival clans who saw their destruction as a problem for someone else. After the purge, the survivors are atoms scattered in the solar wind. You have the children, hiding in the literal sewers of Navarro, believing they are the last true believers. You have Bo-Katan, a figure of failed leadership and tarnished honor, trying to rally the ashes of the clans from her castle on Kalevala. You have warlords on distant moons, bandits wearing scavenged armor, each claiming a piece of the legacy. The planet itself is cursed, haunted, and occupied by Imperial remnants. This is the cycle. It is as predictable as the rising of Mandalore's suns. Unification, a strong Mandalore the ultimate, or even Maul through brute force, unites the clans. External conflict, they turn their fury outward in a glorious, destructive crusade. Catastrophic defeat, they meet a force that breaks them. Jedi, Republic, Empire, fracture and schism. The unity shatters. The trauma of defeat leads to ideological civil war. What does it mean to be Mandalorian now? Internal bloodletting, clans, houses, and sects fight for supremacy, tearing each other apart over honor, dogma, and resources. Weakness and exploitation. In their weakened, divided state, they are easily manipulated or conquered by the next galactic power. You're born into this. You're born into a side of a war that started centuries before you, over an argument you didn't make. The culture provides no tools for peace. Their language glorifies battle. Their religion is the creed of combat. Their concept of justice is the duel. Their politics is a knife fight. To compromise is to be Darmanda. To forgive is often seen as weakness. Every slight, every disputed border, every theological debate about helmet doctrine has only one escalatory path: violence. You think you could navigate this? You think you could choose a side and fight for your beliefs? You don't get to choose. You're born on a side, and your side will change tomorrow when your clan chief cuts a deal you find despicable. Your ally today will be your executioner tomorrow over a point of honor you don't even understand. You'd spend your life in a state of perpetual, paranoid warfare, not against a foreign enemy, but against your own cultural cousins. The face you see in your sniper scope will have the same T-visor as yours. The blood you spill will water the same barren soil your ancestors fought over. So by now you're getting the picture. Mandalorian history is a circular firing squad, but every firing squad has a captain, right? Someone in charge of the madness. For Mandalorians, that's the Mandalore, the one leader. And for the last 1,000 years, the symbol of that leadership hasn't been a crown or a vote or a birthright. It's been a sword, a very specific, very problematic sword, the darksaber. It looks cool, I'll give it that. A black plasma blade with a crackling white edge, a unique hilt shaped like a winged guard. It was created by Tare Vizsla over 1,000 years ago. He was the first Mandalorian ever inducted into the Jedi Order, a Mandalorian Jedi. It's a contradiction in terms, like a pacifist rancor. He builds this weapon, a blend of Mandalorian craftsmanship and Jedi technology. When he dies, the Jedi keep it in their temple, because it's a dangerous artifact. Then, according to legend, members of House Vizsla broke into the Jedi temple and stole it back. And this is where the trouble really begins. They turned it into a political argument made of light. They said, this isn't a Jedi weapon. It's a Mandalorian weapon, and whoever wields it has the right to rule. Just think about that system of government. The right to rule isn't determined by wisdom or diplomacy or administrative skill or even popular support. It's determined by who's the best fighter, who can win a sword fight. It's reducing the complex, brutal, heartbreaking job of leading a shattered people down to a single question: can I beat you up? This is insanity. It's like deciding who should perform your brain surgery by holding a boxing match in the parking lot. The skills are not related. The greatest warrior is almost never the greatest ruler. A great ruler needs to build alliances, manage resources, inspire loyalty, plan for the future. A great warrior needs to be good at killing people. That's it. But for Mandalorians, soaked in a culture of strength and honor, it makes a twisted kind of sense. Strength is the ultimate virtue, so the strongest must lead. Simple, clean, and catastrophically stupid. Because here's what happens. Every time the darksaber changes hands, it doesn't bring order. It brings chaos. It's a license for perpetual challenge. Let's trace its bloody path just in the last few decades and watch the dominoes fall. For a long time, it sat with the Vizslas, a symbol of their house's prestige. Then during the Clone Wars, Pre-Vizsla has it. He's the leader of Death Watch. He uses it as a symbol to rally the traditionalists against Satin. Then Darth Maul kills Prey in single combat. By the rules, the darksaber, and the right to rule Mandalore passes to Maul. Does this bring unity? Of course not. It immediately splits Death Watch in half. Bo-Katan refuses to follow a Sith. So now you have a civil war where the rightful ruler, by their own tradition, is the guy they're fighting against. The system instantly creates its own crisis. Maul loses it. It floats around the criminal underworld for a while. Then it ends up with Moff Gideon after the Purge. He didn't win it in combat. He stole it, or claimed it as a trophy of war. This is another nightmare scenario. The symbol of your people's sovereignty is in the hands of the man who orchestrated their genocide. Then Din Djarin wins it from Gideon, in a fight. He wins it fairly. By the creed, it's his. But Din doesn't want it. He's a simple man, a hunter. He has no desire to rule a planet or unite a people. The thing is a millstone around his neck. He can't give it away. That's not how it works. To transfer it without combat is a hollow transaction. It carries no legitimacy. So he's stuck with it. A man who just wants to be left alone with his kid is now the technical ruler of a planet of fanatical warriors, and he can't get rid of the job. He gives it to Bo-Katan, but he doesn't fight her. He hands it to her. This creates a massive unresolved theological crisis for Mandalorians. Does she really own it? She didn't win it in combat. Is her rule legitimate? For many traditionalists, the answer is a firm no. Her claim is forever tainted. It's a ghost that will haunt her every decision. This is the darksaber's true power. It doesn't confer authority. It invalidates authority. It creates a constant, lingering doubt about whoever holds it. Did they win it fairly? Were the terms honourable? Could someone else beat them? It turns leadership into a permanent open challenge. It ensures there will always be a faction. Some ambitious clan leader, some disgruntled traditionalist who looks at the holder and thinks, I could take him, and if I did, it would all be mine. It makes every Mandalore a target. Their job isn't to govern, it's to constantly be ready to defend their title in a fight to the death. How do you plan agricultural policy for Sundari when you know any day some hotshot from Clan Awowd could kick in your door and demand a duel? You don't. You spend your time training. You surround yourself with loyal bodyguards. You rule through fear and strength, not through stability and wisdom. The darksaber romanticizes the idea of the warrior king, but in reality, it creates a system of serial kingslayer. It institutionalizes coup d'etat. It makes regime change a matter of personal martial prowess. There is no peaceful transfer of power. Every transition is a crisis. Every death of a leader is an invitation to civil war as a dozen contenders scramble to prove they're the strongest. And you, my friend, you absolutely do not want to be the one holding it. Think about it. You have this incredibly powerful historic artifact. It's also a giant glowing kill me sign painted on your back. Every bounty hunter in the galaxy would love to claim the bounty on the ruler of Mandalore. Every rival Mandalorian with a shred of ambition sees you as the final boss standing between them and glory. Every Imperial remnant wants you dead as a symbol. You can't go to a cantina, you can't have a quiet life. You are the ultimate lightning rod for violence. This is the weight of 1,000 years of bad decisions. The sword demands you be perfect, unchallengeable, and utterly ruthless, forever. It's a trap, a beautiful, legendary trap. It promises unity, but delivers only division. It promises strength, but enables endless strife. It's the perfect symbol for Mandalorian culture, a weapon of immense power, with no off switch, that ultimately exists only to be used against itself. You wouldn't last an hour with it. Okay, so let's say you survive the training, you learn to live with the creed, you don't blow yourself up with your own gear, you even manage to avoid getting stabbed in the back over some 1,000-year-old clan feud. Congratulations, you're a fully fledged Mandalorian. Now, let's talk about your social life, or rather, the complete and total lack of one, because from the moment you strap on that beskar, you cease to be a person. You become a symbol, and in a galaxy that's equal parts desperate, greedy, and violent, that makes you one thing above all else, a target. Let's see the different types of people who now have you in their crosshairs, just for existing. First, the opportunists. This is your low-level scum, the pickpockets, the con artists, the small-time gangsters in every spaceport from Mos Eisley to Nar Shaddaa. They see you, and they don't see a warrior. They see a walking bank vault. They know the law. They've heard the stories. Beskar is worth a fortune. A single pauldron could set a person up for life on some mid-rim world. Your van braces? High-tech military gear? Your signet? A priceless antique? So they'll try. Oh, they'll try. It's never a fair fight. It's a vibro blade in a dark alley, aimed at the seams of your armor. It's a sniper shot from a rooftop, hoping to punch through a weaker spot. It's sabotaging your ship while you're in the cantina, hoping to strand you so they can muster more firepower. You can't relax, ever. Putting your back to a wall isn't a tactical choice. It's a necessity. Every shadow hides a pair of eyes calculating the resale value of your knee plate. Second, the professionals. These are the real threats. Bounty hunters, and not the amateurs. The guild veterans. You are the ultimate prize for them. Not because there's always a bounty on your head specifically, though there might be, but because capturing or killing a Mandalorian is a career maker. It's a reputation bump like no other. It says, I'm so good I can take down the galaxy's most feared warriors. You're a trophy kill. They won't come at you head on. They'll study you. They'll learn your patterns. They'll use your own tactics against you. They'll lay traps with ion charges to fry your systems. They'll use sonic weapons that bypass your armor entirely and turn your internal organs to jelly. They'll hire a dozen blaster for hire to pin you down while they move in for the kill. Every job you take, every bounty you chase, you're advertising your location and your methods to every other hunter in the sector and daring them to try you. Third, the zealots and the grudge holders. This is where it gets personal. The galaxy is big, and you've made a lot of enemies as a people. Maybe you, personally, didn't glass their planet, but your ancestors might have. Maybe you didn't kill their father in the Clone Wars, but someone wearing the same symbol did. Jedi and Force sensitives. There's a millennia-old beef here. Mandalorians have been hunting Jedi and being hunted by them since forever. A Jedi sees you and doesn't see a person. They see a historical, existential threat. A reminder of the Mandalorian Wars, of the sacking of Coruscant, of 1,000 battles. They will be wary, at best, hostile at worst. Then you have Imperials and Imperial sympathizers. To them, you're not a person. You're a terrorist, a remnant of a culture that refused to bow properly, an insurgent. A stormtrooper might be poorly trained, but an ISB agent or an Imperial Special Forces vet. They have manuals on how to kill you. They know beskar is tough, so they'll use concussive missiles, flamethrowers, or just overwhelm you with numbers. You are living proof their purge failed, and they hate that. Business rivals and spurned clients. You're a bounty hunter. You take jobs, sometimes you succeed, and you make enemies of the people you captured. Sometimes you fail, and you make enemies of the people who hired you. Either way, you leave a trail of very angry, very motivated people behind you, and they all know what you look like, a giant tin man. Fourth, the authorities, or lack thereof. Try getting help. Go ahead, walk into a Corsec office on Corellia and say you're being followed. The moment they see the helmet, you're not a victim, you're a problem. You're a magnet for trouble. Most law enforcement would rather you just left their planet. You bring chaos. You are, in their eyes, a legally armed mercenary with a hair trigger and a medieval sense of justice. They won't protect you, they'll contain you, or arrest you on some flimsy weapons charge just to get you off their streets. Fifth, the curious and the fans. This might be the most annoying group, the starry-eyed kids who want to hear stories, the historians who want to interview you about the Battle of Galidran, the armor nerds who want to know the composition of your beskar alloy. They mean no harm, but they crowd you, they make noise, they draw attention. In a crowded market, they are the perfect camouflage for the assassin in Group 1 or 2. You can't interact with them. You can't sign an autograph. You have to be a silent, intimidating statue, which just feeds the myth and makes you more of a target. So, what is daily life like with all of this? You don't have a home. You have safe houses, temporary bolts holes you never visit twice in a row. You don't have friends. You have contacts, allies of convenience, and your clan. That's it. You don't have a drink in a cantina. You have a tactical assessment of the room, your back to the wall, one eye on the door, the other on the Daedric table, where the Rhodian is losing credits and looking angry. Sleep? It's in your ship with proximity alarms set, your blaster in your hand. Travel? You fly a combat-ready vessel, not a luxury liner. You take circuitous routes. You avoid major trade lanes. Even getting fuel is an ordeal. You have to deal with a nervous dockmaster who's charging you triple because he's sure you'll blow up his pumps, while his weak-way security team fingers their blasters, hoping you'll do something stupid. It's a life of profound, grinding paranoia. The armor that protects you also paints a target on you. The reputation that earns you respect also ensures you'll never know peace. You traded anonymity for honor, and anonymity was the only thing that ever kept you safe. You think you could handle this? Walking down the street, knowing every single person looking at you is having one of three thoughts. I want that armor. I want to be the one who killed the person in that armor. I need to get as far away from that armor as possible. There's no blending in. There's no quiet retirement to a farm on some green moon. From your first day to your last, you are a spectacle, a challenge, a prize. You wouldn't last a day. The constant vigilance, the inability to ever let your guard down, the knowledge that a simple trip for milk could turn into a running gun battle through the streets. You'd crack. You'd make a mistake. You'd choose the wrong cantina, trust the wrong fuel merchant, turn your back for 1 second too long. The galaxy is a big, dark forest, and from the moment you put on that helmet, you stop being a hunter. You become the most brightly lit, noisy, valuable piece of game in the whole woods, and every predator for parsecs around knows exactly where you are. Bounty hunting isn't optional. For the vast, overwhelming majority of Mandalorians, after the fall, after the purge, after everything turns to ash, bounty hunting is one thing, not dying tomorrow. It's the economic reality of being a walking monument to a dead culture in a galaxy that has moved on. Your clan needs to eat. Your covert needs fuel, medicine, spare parts for the life support systems on your rust bucket of a cruiser. The foundlings need something that isn't recycled nutrient paste. And you need to keep the beskar on your back because that armor is the only capital you have in a universe that operates on cold, hard credits. So you go where your skill set has value. And your skill set, drilled into you since you could walk, is violence and tracking. It's a very specific, very dark toolkit. In a civilized galaxy, these are criminal traits. In the underworld, they're a commodity. So you find your way to a guild office, some dimly lit hole in a spaceport that smells of ozone and desperation. You take a puck from a bored-looking droid or a human agent who looks at you not as a person, but as a risky investment. And just like that, you're in business. The business of hunting people for money. Now, let's shatter the holovid illusion completely. The day-to-day of this life is about as far from exciting as you can get. It's 80% crushing, mind-numbing boredom. You're not jetpacking across asteroid fields in a thrilling dogfight. You're sitting in a speeder van you rented under a fake ID parked in the pouring rain of a hypercity industrial zone. Watching the back door of a warehouse for 16 hours, you're reviewing hours of security footage from a tap you illegally installed, your eyes straining to pick out one face in a crowd of thousands. You're bribing low-level kitchen staff at a resort for scraps of information about a guest's schedule. You're cross-referencing planetary departure logs, cargo manifests, and gossip from spice runners on the comm, trying to triangulate where your target might have jumped to next. This is detective work, but without any of the authority or resources. You're a one-person operation. You are the surveillance team, the forensic analyst, the interrogator, and the cavalry. And you're doing it all on a budget so tight, you're calculating how many credits you can save by skipping a meal or stretching your fuel mixture. That dead or alive bounty, you start praying it's alive because the alive fee is almost always higher and you need those extra credits. But then you do the math. Capturing someone alive means secure transport. It means feeding them. It means keeping them sedated but not dead, which is a medical cost. It means a higher risk of them escaping or being broken out by associates. The math, the cold calculus of the job, starts to whisper that dead is more efficient. Dead is simpler. Dead means you get paid faster and can move on to the next puck. And you need to move on because the covert's reserves are running low. This is where you have to confront the first thing that would break you, the morality, or the complete erosion of it. The creed has rules, it has honor. The guild's contract, it has clauses, loopholes, fine print. Your client, 9 times out of 10, isn't some wronged noble seeking justice. It's a corporation wanting to silence a whistleblower. It's a hut wanting to make an example of a thief. It's a political faction wanting a rival, eliminated without getting their own hands dirty. You are the tool that allows the civilized galaxy to keep its hands clean. You deliver the messy consequences. You'll be sent to retrieve a debtor. You find him. He's not some con artist living in luxury. He's a mechanic. He borrowed money for his daughter's life-saving surgery. The job he used as collateral fell through. Now he's hiding, terrified. He begs. He shows you a holopic of his little girl. He offers you everything he has, which is about 50 credits and a half-charged power cell. In that moment, you are not a warrior following a code. You're a collections agent. The armor, the legacy, the myth, it all evaporates. You're just a big guy in metal here to ruin a man's life because a number in a bank computer didn't match up. If you walk away, your clan doesn't eat. If you take him in, you've just condemned a family to something probably worse than death under Hutt rule. There's no right answer. There's just the choice and the weight of it, which you will carry in silence. You can't talk about this with your clan leader. He's got the same problems. Everyone is carrying this weight, so you make the choice. You harden something inside you, and you add another ghost to the ones that follow you into the silence of hyperspace. And then when you've almost dissolved into the boredom, that's when the other 20% hits. The sheer, pants-wetting terror of when a job goes completely, utterly sideways. It happens all the time. Your intel was garbage, the client lied, the target isn't a simple smuggler, he's an ex-Republic commando with a private militia. You're not hunting him, you've walked into an ambush. Suddenly, you're not a hunter, you're prey. You're in the maintenance tunnels under a city planet. The lights just went out. Your thermal scan is fritzing from all the steam pipes. You hear the click of a rifle powering up from the darkness ahead, and the scuff of a boot on grating behind you. Your comms are jammed. Your ship is 3 levels up and a kilometre away. It's just you, your weapons, and the years of training that are about to be stress tested in the worst possible way. This is where the childhood, the endless drills, the pain tolerance conditioning, the sparring sessions where you were thrown against adults, pays off. There's no time for conscious thought. Your body moves, you drop, roll, return, fire at the sound, not the sight. You use the environment. You blow a steam conduit to create cover. You magnetize your boots to drop down a vertical shaft to escape an encirclement. It's brutal, ugly, close quarters chaos. It's not a duel. It's a desperate scramble for survival, where the only rule is to be the one who walks away. Maybe the hazard isn't other people. Maybe it's the planet itself. You took a job on a world with a toxic atmosphere. Your helmet filters are at 40% and failing faster than projected. You're racing against the clock, your own HUD flashing warnings as you try to find your target before you suffocate. Or you're on a low-gravity asteroid, where your jetpack controls are hypersensitive and a wrong twitch sends you spinning off into the black. Or you're in a swamp where giant armored predators can sense the vibrations of your heavy footsteps. The galaxy is an infinitely creative death trap, and you're constantly walking into new ones for a paycheck. You can't take the helmet off, not in public, so you exist in a bubble of your own recycled air. In cantinas, you sit apart. You don't make small talk. You can't share a drink, play a game of sabak, or strike up a casual conversation. You are an object of fear, curiosity, or avarice. Everyone who looks at you is either thinking about how to kill you, how to rob you, or how much the guild might pay for you. Trust is the most expensive currency in the galaxy, and you are bankrupt. Even other bounty hunters are not your friends. They're your competition. They'll steal your puck, sabotage your ship, or drop a tip to the Imperials about your whereabouts to get you out of the way. The legendary camaraderie of gunslingers? A myth. It's a cutthroat market, and you are both the product and the seller. So you talk to your ship. You give it a name. You curse it when it breaks down, and you praise it when it makes a jump it shouldn't have been able to make. It's your only constant companion. You'll spend weeks in the cockpit. The only sounds the hum of the hyperdrive and the beeping of console alerts. That's when the isolation truly sinks in. That's when the ghost you've collected on your journeys get loud. The face of the mechanic. The scream of a target you couldn't stun in time. The empty stare of someone you left behind. There's no therapy for this. No comfort. You just sit with it, in the dark between stars, until the next job pings on your console, and you have to shove it all down again to focus on surviving the next day. There is no out or retirement. You see the old-timers in the guild. Their armour is a museum of close calls, scorch marks that never buffed out, dented plates that were never properly hammered back into shape. They move with a permanent stiffness. They've got a cough from some forgotten lung injury. They've seen so much that the light behind their T-visors seems dimmed. They take the lower-paying, safer pucks now. The young, hungry hunters look right through them. That's the endgame. You see that skull on the armour, the one with the massive tusks and the jaw that looks like it could bite a speeder in half? That's a Mythosaur. And if you think it's a cool Mandalorian tattoo, you're already in way over your head. That skull, its legacy, its weight. And if you ever dared to wear it, even for a minute, you'd realise it's less of a badge and more of a warning. You don't measure up, because the Mythosaur? That's where it all began. Way before the Mandalorians had creeds, or helmets, or forged beskar into art. They had something much simpler. A planet trying to kill them. Mandalore was never a welcoming place. You didn't build a life there. You survived there. And the biggest thing trying to keep you dead? The Mythosaur. This wasn't some oversized lizard or a mildly cranky dinosaur. We're talking skyscraper-sized beasts with armor for skin and rage in their blood. They ruled the surface. They didn't hide in caves or flee from fire. They were the fire. Every step they took cracked the ground. If they showed up, your only option was to run or be forgotten. And then the Mandalorians came, the Tong that I mentioned earlier, a grey-skinned warrior species exiled from Coruscant thousands of years before the films. In Legends, the Tong were already obsessed with strength, battle and honor through combat. When they landed on Mandalore, they didn't try to tame it, they tried to dominate it. And the Mythosaur? That was the ultimate challenge. They didn't try to hunt it for sport, they hunted it to survive. To carve a place in the dirt with blood, they brought down creatures the size of cities with nothing but primitive gear, sheer willpower, and an unnatural tolerance for pain. And when they finally killed one, they built their culture around it. That's where the skull comes in. They wore the bones. They painted the shape. It was a reminder. This is what it takes to be Mandalorian. If you can't conquer monsters, you're not worthy of wearing the armor. That skull on the pauldron, it's proof that someone in your bloodline faced the impossible and won. And now you have to live up to that. Imagine growing up under that kind of pressure. You train as a foundling, get your first chest plate, and before you've even figured out how to aim your blaster, you're already staring at that Mythosaur emblem being told, that's your standard. Don't fall short. Every bruise, every drill, every punishment, it's all about becoming the kind of person who could have killed a Mythosaur. And spoiler, you wouldn't. Because even Mandalorians today aren't ready for what the Mythosaur really meant. They've been faking it for centuries. That symbol has become wallpaper. They wear it without understanding the cost. They paint it on gunships, forge it into belt buckles, pass it around like it's inherited pride, not a cultural debt that no one's paid off in generations. And that brings us to Mandalore the First. In both canon and legends, this was the leader who united the clans, slayed the last known Mythosaur, and took its name as a title. Killing a Mythosaur meant you were chosen. Not by the people, by the planet itself. That's the kind of myth that locks your people into a psychological prison. Because once you say, this is our origin, you can't undo it. Now every leader has to try and live up to that moment. And surprise, they usually don't. And that brings us to modern Mandalorians. The ones who fled after the purge, the ones hiding in sewers, the ones scraping together what little beskar they've got left and calling it tradition. They still wear the skull, still say this is the way, still act like they're the apex predators of the galaxy, but they haven't seen a Mythosaur in thousands of years. Most of them don't even believe they were real. It's like if you tattooed a dragon on your chest, but deep down, you're scared of your own shadow. And then Bo-Katan sees one, a real one. Alive, sleeping beneath the living waters, like it never left. You think Bo-Katan didn't say anything because she's stoic? She didn't say anything because that thing scared the soul out of her. And yeah, also nobody would believe her. She's seen war, she's held the darksaber, she's led armies, but one glimpse of the Mythosaur, and suddenly all of it feels tiny. Because she grew up on stories, same as everyone else. And now the story is looking back. See, in your life, death is an event. It's a tragedy. It's a shocking, world-stopping moment that disrupts the flow of normal things. You get time to grieve. There are rituals, funerals, a period where people bring you casseroles and say, I'm sorry for your loss. You're allowed to fall apart. You're expected to. Now, step into the boots of a Mandalorian. Death isn't an event, it's the weather. It's the background radiation of your entire existence. It's a constant whispering presence from the moment you're old enough to understand what a blaster bolt does. Your first memory isn't of a birthday or a toy. It's likely of a funeral pyre. The smell of smoke and melted beskar. Think about the structure of it. You're born into or adopted by a clan, a tribe. This is your entire world. Your parents, your mentors, your siblings in arms. Your identity is woven into theirs. You fight together, eat together, sleep in the same bunk room, on the same ship. The bonds are thicker than blood because they're forged in survival. You know every scar on their armor, every quirk in their fighting style, the sound of their laugh filtered through a helmet modulator. And then, one day, on a routine patrol, a training accident, a skirmish with pirates that was supposed to be easy, one of them is gone. Just gone. A person who was there at breakfast, complaining about the calf, is now a pile of scorched armor being collected from a battlefield. Here's what happens next. There is no week off or retreat to process. The galaxy doesn't pause because your heart just got ripped out. The Empire is still hunting you. The guild puck on the console is still blinking. The ship still needs fuel. The covert is still in danger. So you have the ritual, the remembrance. You say the words. I remember your face. I remember your voice. You add their signet to the mural. If you have a wall to paint on, you maybe take a piece of their armor to incorporate into your own, or you melt it down for the next foundling. And then, before the pyre smoke has even cleared, you're handed their duties. You clean their bunk. You redistribute their gear. You're now responsible for the watch shifts they covered. You have to be twice as sharp, because the team is one person weaker. You don't get to cry. You don't get to scream. You get to work. Grief is a luxury your people cannot afford. It's a weight that would slow you down, and slowing down gets you killed. So you do what you're trained to do. You compartmentalize. You take that raw, screaming ball of pain and loss, and you shove it into a mental locker. You slam the door shut, you lock it, and you get on with the business of living. The problem is, you have to do this over, and over, and over again. Your mentor, the one who taught you how to strip a blaster blindfolded, gone in the purge. Your Ridger, your spouse, who fought by your side for 20 years, didn't come back from a retrieval on Nar Shaddaa. The young foundling you were training, full of potential, caught in a crossfire you couldn't prevent. Every loss gets its own locker. Slam, lock, move on. But those lockers aren't empty, they're full. And they start to strain, they leak. The grief doesn't disappear, it metastasizes. It turns into something else. It becomes a cold, hard knot in your gut that never unravels. It becomes a hair trigger temper. It becomes a numbness, a detachment from anything that isn't pure, immediate survival. You stop letting yourself get close to new people because you've done the math. Attachment equals future pain. So you wall yourself off, even from your surviving clan members, because you see the same calculation in their eyes. You all love each other, but it's a love haunted by the imminent probability of loss. This is where the psychology gets dark. In a healthy society, you process trauma. You talk about it. You work through it. In Mandalorian culture, trauma isn't processed. It's accumulated. It's worn like another layer of armor. Your identity becomes a patchwork of absences. You are who you are because of who isn't there anymore. I fight this way because that's how Bowie taught me, and he's gone. I fly this maneuver because it saved Jara's life once, but it didn't save her the second time. Every skill, every tactic is a living memorial to a ghost. So, we've come to the end of the tour. We've walked through the Museum of Mandalorian life and poked at every exhibit. And let's be honest, none of them were fun. We started with a simple question. Could you last a day as a Mandalorian? And now, after all this, I hope the answer is screamingly, blindingly obvious. You wouldn't last an hour. Let's stop pretending this is about toughness. It's not. You might be tough, you might go to the gym, you might have a black belt, you might be the most resilient person you know. That's not the point. This isn't a test of physical endurance. It's a test of psychological assimilation. It's about letting go of everything that makes you you, and accepting a new identity that was forged in a furnace of war and grief 1,000 years before you were born. Think about your morning. You wake up, you choose what to wear, you choose what to eat. You maybe check the news, message a friend, make a coffee. You have 1,000 tiny freedoms, little choices that define your day and your sense of self. Now, let's run the Mandalorian version. You wake up in your armor because you slept in it. Your back aches from the weight. The first thing you see is your HUD, not the sunlight. You drink warm, plasticky water from a tube. Every piece of your existence is predetermined by the Rasol Nar. Your purpose was assigned at birth or adoption. Your path is a trench dug by generations of warriors, and you will walk in it until you die. You wouldn't make it to breakfast. The sheer, suffocating lack of autonomy would have you clawing at your helmet seal. But let's say you're stubborn. You push through the existential dread. Now you have to interact with the world, and the world sees you as one of three things: a myth, a threat, or a paycheck. There is no casual conversation, no friendly barista. Every interaction is a tactical assessment. The guy selling fruit might have a vibroblade. The woman asking for directions might be sketching your armor for a bounty post. You can't relax. You can't blend in. You are a monument walking through a city of people, and everyone is either throwing rocks or taking pictures. You'd crack from the paranoia before you even left your ship. But okay, you're a mental fortress. You embrace the solitude. You go out on a job, a simple bounty. You find your target, and you realize the vicious killer on the puck is a starving refugee who stole food to feed her kids. The creed and the guild say to bring her in. Your humanity, the thing you haven't completely erased yet, says something else. That moment of hesitation, that's the moment a rival hunter puts a bolt in your backplate, or the moment the target's desperate husband tackles you, or the moment you make the wrong choice of mercy and return to your covert to face the silent, shaming judgment of the armorer. Your conscience, that little voice you take for granted, would get you killed or exiled. Let's say you kill the voice. You become the perfect, emotionless tool. You bring in the bounty, you get paid, and you realize you've just enabled a slaver or a crime lord. The credits in your hand feel heavy. They smell wrong. You go back to your empty ship with no one to talk to, no way to process what you've done except to stare at the dent in your armor from the fight. The loneliness isn't poetic. It's a vacuum that sucks the light out of you. You drown in the isolation long before anyone got a chance to shoot you. And hanging over all of it, every second, is the politics. The silent, stupid, endless civil war. You're not just a bounty hunter. You're a clan Mudhorn bounty hunter, or a former night owl, or a child of the watch. That label means something. It means enemies you've never met hate you. It means you can't trust a Mandalorian with different colours on their pauldron. It means your leader's bad decision could get you bombed from orbit by your own people. Your life is currency in a feud you didn't start and can't possibly understand. You'd be caught in the crossfire of a centuries-old argument you never got a chance to study for. This is the core of it. Being a Mandalorian, it's the surrender of your individuality to the collective, the surrender of your conscience to the creed, the surrender of your peace to perpetual war, the surrender of your home to an ideal, the surrender of your life to a history that treats people as replaceable parts. You look at the armor, the jetpack, the blaster, and you see power. And you're not wrong. But it's power bought with everything that makes a life worth living. It's a deal with the devil, where the price isn't your soul later, it's your humanity now. You wouldn't last a day because you are, thankfully, still a person. You have doubts, you need comfort, you seek connection, you value peace, you want to be more than just a function. You believe in second chances, you think the face under the helmet matters. Every single one of those qualities is a liability in their world. Everyone is a point of failure. The Mandalorian world is engineered to burn those things out of you, and if they can't burn them out, it will kill you for having them. So no, you wouldn't last, you'd miss the sun on your face, you'd miss a handshake, you'd miss the quiet, you'd miss the freedom of being no one special, you'd miss the luxury of a choice that doesn't mean life or death. The fantasy is the beskar, the reality is the prison it builds around the heart and mind. It's the coolest, most effective, most tragic cage in the galaxy. And you, my friend, are not built for cages.